So, how to deal with a narcissistic family member? This is a question that I've gotten so many times. No matter how many studies you go through, psychologists or psychiatrists you see, it doesn't seem to get any easier maintaining the relationships with them. Well, as someone that's personally been through it for 35 years now, hoping to give you some insights today. For those of you, if it's your first time, I welcome you. For those of you, if you're back, welcome back. My name is Joe. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, business, life, and relationship coach. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. For those of you that have been watching my videos to this point, got the new studio and I got John Wick up behind me. Baba Yaga, the boogeyman in Russian. Love the movie. It's a symbol of strength. Somebody that can't get preyed upon. So, I ask you guys to bear with me through this video. It's going to be a little bit of storytelling because I'm kind of freelancing this one off the top of my head because this one's important to me and I have quite a bit of experience with it. But dealing with narcissistic family members can be one of the most difficult things we ever go through in life. Who and what for me isn't really important. I don't believe in pointing anyone out specific really. But just know if you're watching this and you're dealing with it, I do genuinely know how you feel and what you're going through. Up to this day, it's a very difficult thing to navigate depending on how close you are. Now, you guys are going to have I've seen all different comments from you guys. Some of you, it's your parents. Some of you, it's your children. Some of you, it's sister and brothers. But it all really depends on how close you are with them. The hardest relationships, I think, are going to be the ones that you're actually living in a home with because you have to deal with each other every single day. So how do we deal with people with narcissistic personality disorder? Well, there's really no way to deal with them that really makes sense on the outside. Why? Because we need to understand that these people are going to be who they want to be at all times. They've got exactly that, personality disorder. And especially when it comes to narcissism, we need to remember they're impulsive. They don't have control over their emotions at a lot of times. And it's hard for us to keep that in mind and remember that it's not personal. It seems personal, it feels personal, and you may still think it's personal. But you don't realize that these people aren't thinking the same way you're thinking. That's why it's a disorder. It's a mental illness. They're not thinking the way you're supposed to be normally thinking. So their impulsive decisions, their compulsion, they have control over, but they also don't have control over. So it wouldn't be as malicious as, let's say, you doing what they're doing to somebody else as someone that doesn't have the disorder. But what makes these relationships so difficult to navigate and why they're so much more difficult than every other one is because you don't have so much freedom to just walk away. They're family, right? Now, just because someone's family doesn't mean you have to deal with them if it's a toxic relationship. Some of you have to, some of you don't, but when it comes to family, blood's thicker than water. So we try not to make that happen, which I completely get and understand. For some of you, I know it's very difficult. For me, it was very difficult because it seems like every time you're around the person, they ruin your day. I know sometimes if you get that phone call, anxiety immediately spikes, your stomach drops, and you're in an anxious mood for the rest of the day. Trust me, I've been there. And I know this may be a little difficult for you guys to hear, but you're going to have to, and maybe it may not be overnight, but you're going to have to reach a point where you keep these people in arm's length. You can still have a relationship with them, but you have to take what they say as a grain of salt. You have to limit your interactions with them. You have to limit your social events to them. Limit them to things that are absolutely necessary. And then when they do, you need to try to let things roll off of you. And I know, great, easier said than done. Trust me, it took me a long time with some people to make that happen. But what I really tried to do was do research on how these people act and try to understand what the deal really is. And once you understand that it's more of a problem with them than it is with you, you learn to not take it so personally and your skin becomes thicker. And I get it. It's difficult, right? Because these are family members. These are intimate relationships. So when they say something really screwed up to you, it hits deeper than a normal person. I know we've been there. But here's the problem. We're in a situation with these people and they're not going to change, right? If they were going to change, they would have changed already. And it's not so easy for people that have these mental illnesses to just change. So what we're doing now isn't working. Let's say what you're doing now is not working. So something has to change. And we need to focus on things we can control. You can't control their behavior. So just Drop that. I know you try to fight, kind of wasting your time because you can't control the way they act because that's them, not you. You can control your decisions in the way you act. What you want to do is gradually try to take some space from these people throughout time, maybe not abruptly, right? Stay busy. If you live with the people, find a way to eventually move out. It doesn't need to be right away. When you move out, you don't need to cut off contact right away. If you want to, sure, go ahead if you never want to talk to the person anymore. But a lot of us, it's hard when it's our parents or our brother or sisters or, it's an event where the whole family gets together and you don't talk to this one person and you have to see them at social events. Trust me, I get it. But the key factor is you need to build that thick skin and really get that knowledge of understanding and get that Teflon coat on so it doesn't bother you, because the more it bothers you, the more they're going to poke and pry at you. If any of you notice that's the case, I did. Once it stops bothering you, they're going to find somebody else to target, because if it's really difficult, they're all about reactions. Okay? This is what we learned so far if anyone watches videos. It's all about reactions. If they don't get reactions from you because everything's for a reaction, the game's boring for them. They're not getting a reaction. And this takes time. This could take even years. But as you build yourself up, people don't change. We change. People change in response to our change. So as you build that thicker skin, it'll die down. Now, if you live with the person, it's probably unbearable. At some point, something's got to change. You got to find a way to live somewhere else. I don't know what your circumstances are at this point. You could be a kid. They could be son and daughters. I'm not really sure. Just know the biggest thing is reactions make things 10 times worse. So what I did was gradually just take space over time. Gradually gained my independence, didn't live with the person, limited my contact, and you don't tell them like, hey, I don't want to see you, I don't want to hang out with you, but you use your kids as an excuse, your job as an excuse as to why you can't always do things. Don't completely ignore them, and then when you are around them, just be prepared to what is going to happen and be ready to have that thick skin. And if you can't, you may want to take some time to not be around the person until you can handle it. Taking a time out is okay for a little while to kind of reset your emotions, die down a little bit until you're ready to deal with it. My business coach and life coach told me at one point, just because they're family doesn't mean you have to deal with them and what they come with. That's a choice. But you don't want to be exiled from family either and not go to any family functions. So we have to find that moderation. But what I struggled with and what I learned a lot of other people struggled with is that they take it personally. You're relating their actions and their emotions to of a normal person, and they're not normal. So you're expecting something out of somebody that really you can't expect from them, right? You can't expect blood out of a rock. I don't want to say it's to that extreme, but it's pretty similar to that, right? So, recap. First things first, do your research. Understand it. Just because they're not diagnosed and you're not sure, just Google this toxic behavior. And just because, all right, maybe they do these 3 things with narcissistic, maybe they do these 3 things with sociopath, maybe they do these 3 things with borderline. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter what they're diagnosed with. The behavior is unacceptable, right? It's abusive. So we know something's going on. It's not normal. Understand it, because the behavior is very predictable. Because one thing about these people we know, and I say it in all my videos, they could not control their emotional behavior and their compulsiveness. Right on cue, you always know there's that comment coming. Right on cue, you always know there's that put down in front of everybody else. Something that insults your intelligence. You know what? Shake it off and laugh, because believe it or not, I found that after a while, as the reactions don't affect you, and you build your confidence off of that, they're going to find another supply to do it to. And, the sad part about it is, guys, is that since they really don't change, and some may, you're going to have to keep that distance, sort of arm's length relationship at all times, because unfortunately you can't get too close to these people, because when you open up and become vulnerable, the closer you get, the more they hurt you and take advantage of you. And it's not personal, but this is just what we're dealing with. Listen, this is what we were born with, okay? We win poker with the hand we were dealt and the way we play the game. We don't always win the game just because we got good cards. Listen, we weren't dealt pair of aces or whatever hand you consider the best hand in poker. We were dealt a 2 and a 6, let's just say. It's never going to change. So we have an option. We can play the hand we were dealt and make the best out of it, or we can let it completely ruin us and ruin our life. Me personally, I'm going to do what's in my control to make it tolerable. But back to the original point. You're probably going to have to keep them at arm's length throughout your entire life because you don't want them to revisit those tendencies that were once very emotionally crippling from you. And that's okay. Take them out for their birthday, go to family functions, talk every once in a while, whatever the case may be. Now, if you work with them, that's a whole nother thing. So, build your tolerance. Become knowledgeable and aware of the circumstance and what you're dealing with. When we understand, we can't manage things we don't measure. So we want to be aware, we want to understand, we want to build our tolerance. The more we understand, the more we could absorb, the more we can let it roll off. Doesn't have to be an overnight thing, but you want to start creating distance slowly. I know it's not easy to just cut someone off tomorrow, but just slowly create the distance. Maybe less each week, each month there's less phone calls, each day there's less phone calls. Get your own place. Maybe you were going to dinner once a week, turn that into twice a month, then eventually once a month. And you'll notice as you start to back off and do these things collectively, things will start to change when you are around them. I know it seems hopeless, but there is actually a point to where you can have relationships with these people where you don't feel like you're being attacked the entire time you're with them. It takes time, it takes consistent effort, and it's a process, but nothing rewarding isn't a process, guys. So I just want to let you know, keep your head up. If you have any questions, concerns, or anything else, drop in the comments below. Tell your story. If you want me to go in depth about anything else in this video, feel free to drop that below as well. I always appreciate you guys for sharing your stories and your feedback. You've been so great in some of the other videos with it. Everyone's been super supportive, and it's just been a real good community thing for everybody. I appreciate you guys again for watching another video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe so we can get another video going. Other videos on the channel in case you haven't seen them. Check you guys on the next one.